When David faced death, the shocking truth behind a man after God's heart must watch now. David always had an uncanny connection to things beyond this world. Some said he was a prophet, others whispered he was cursed. But nothing could prepare anyone for the night when the sky turned dark and thunder rumbled, echoing his name. On that fateful evening, David stumbled upon the strange, vacant house at the end of Maple Street, which locals claimed was built over an ancient burial ground. Every flickering light cast ghostly shapes on its walls, shadows dancing like spirits lost in their own despair. A chill gripped the air as he approached, his heart pounding against his ribcage, a relentless drumbeat of fear. Something stirred within the house, a low hum that rattled his bones. Alone, he pushed the creaking door open, every groan sounding like a warning. Inside, he saw portraits lining the walls, their eyes seeming to follow him, almost pleading for help or perhaps for something darker. His pulse quickened as he stepped into the dimly lit hall, the smell of damp wood and a hint of decay flooding his senses. Echoes filled his ears, unsettling whispers of old stories begging to be told. As David ventured further, an icy breeze swept through, extinguishing the candle he had brought for light. The darkness swept in like a suffocating blanket. For a moment, all was silent until he heard it. The unmistakable sound of footsteps behind him. He turned, dread pooling in his stomach, his breath quickening. No one was there. Just the eerie silence that draped around him, thick and heavy, almost alive. Surely, he thought, this must be a trick of his mind, a shadow of fear amplified by the dim glow of the past. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Suddenly, a door slammed shut behind him, loud and echoing, jolting him back to reality. The energy shifted. It wasn't just fear anymore. It was something more potent, more dangerous. As he turned to flee, he caught a glimpse of a figure in the corner of his eye. Something flickered. Was it a face, pale and gaunt? Or just another shadow playing tricks? He paused, heart racing, urging himself to run, yet compelled to look back. What was watching him from the depths of the darkness? What ancient secret lay buried in the bones of that house? And just like that, everything he knew began to unravel. Panic surged through David like a wildfire as he hesitated. The air felt charged, thick with a presence that reached out to him from the shadows. He swallowed hard, his throat dry as he tried to convince himself to let go of the fear. But curiosity, that insatiable beast, gripped him tightly. With a trembling hand, he took a cautious step forward, feeling drawn to that flicker. The figure, ever so elusive, danced just beyond the edge of his light. Was it real, or merely a figment of his fear-riddled imagination? A whisper cut through the silence, a soft plea that carried a familiarity he couldn't place. Help. The word hung heavy in the air, haunting yet inviting. It felt like a thread pulling him closer to the source. With every step deeper into the house, his heart raced, an urgent rhythm propelling him forward despite the alarm bells ringing in his mind. The walls seemed to close in, pressing against him, layered with the weight of countless secrets. As he rounded a corner, the flickering light from the candle caught something gleaming on the floor. David knelt, pushing aside a tattered rug. What he uncovered sent shockwaves through him. An ancient locket, tarnished but unmistakably exquisite, inscribed with unfamiliar markings. His fingers brushed its cool surface, and in that moment, the atmosphere shifted again. Voices swirled around him, growing louder, a cacophony of laughter, cries, and wails. It was overwhelming, chaotic, echoing the twisted histories of the house housed within its walls. He clutched the locket tightly, feeling a pulse of energy surge through him, intertwining with his own heartbeat. Then came a thud, hard and menacing, reverberating through the floorboards beneath him. He shot to his feet, adrenaline coursing through his veins. The feeling of being watched gnawed at him, a relentless reminder that he was not alone. Shadows shifted in his peripheral vision, quick and darting. David, the voice was closer now, more defined, wrapping around him like a cold wind. He knew that voice. It was the voice of someone he once loved, someone lost to him long ago. Memories flooded back with cruel clarity. After all these years, how could this be? He stumbled back a step, feeling a tug at the very essence of who he was. Suddenly, the door at the end of the hall swung open, revealing a flickering light that beckoned him like a moth to a flame. Pulled by a magnetic force, he began moving toward it, drawn by the hopeful flicker yet aware of the impending danger behind him. But something deep inside screamed that he had to know, to understand the connection binding him to this place. A choice lay before him: turn back and escape, or step further into the haunting mysteries of his past. With the decision weighing heavily on his chest, David crossed the threshold into the light, feeling something tear at the edges of his reality. The moment his foot touched the floor inside, the world shifted again, the walls breathing around him, ready to unveil their dark truths. And just as he felt the locket vibrate to life in his pocket, a sudden scream pierced the silence, a scream of terror, echoing through the halls like a warning bell. What had he awakened, and was there still time to escape? The light enveloped David like a shroud, blurring his vision momentarily until it settled into a soft glow. Before him stood a vast, dimly lit room, its walls adorned with faded portraits whose eyes seemed to follow him, filled with eerie intent. The atmosphere was thick with a tangible dread, yet something about the locket pulsing in his pocket urged him on. A sudden rustle to his right made him spin around. He was alone, at least he thought he was. The walls creaked, the air grew colder, and the whispering grew more fervent. It seemed to wrap around him, twisting his thoughts tighter and tighter, each word echoing with a mournful longing. David, this time, there was no mistaking it. The voice resonated deep within him, tugging at buried memories and fears that he had tried to bury forever. It was her. Rebecca? He breathed, disbelief and desperation mixing inside him. His heart raced. What if it was just a trick, one last cruel play by the house to keep him ensnared? But another sound surged through the clamor, a choked sob echoing from behind the portraits. With determination hardening his resolve, David walked closer to the nearest painting. It depicted a woman, her eyes dark and shadowed, mouth opened in an eternal scream. Beneath it, a nameplate read Rebecca. His breath caught in his throat. "Please," he murmured, clenching the locket. "Tell me this is real." The atmosphere thickened, charged with an electric energy that felt less like a physical presence and more like a living nightmare. He reached out, fingers brushing the frame, and jolted back as an icy shock shot through him. The evidence was overwhelming, fueling his anguish with insatiable curiosity. He turned, scanning the room again. In the far corner, where shadows danced menacingly, movement flickered. David took a cautious step forward. "Is someone there?" Silence responded, but then came the unmistakable sound of weeping, soft, sorrowful, like the tides of grief crashing against the shores of his sanity. He followed the sounds, heart hammering. Every hair on his body stood on end, the air buzzing with its sinister invitation. David, there was a desperation, a plea soaked in anguish. He rounded the corner and found a low-lit alcove, draped in shadows. There lay a figure on the floor, the contours barely visible, huddled as though carrying the weight of 1,000 sorrows. "Help me," it whimpered, echoing the voice he knew so well. "Rebecca!" he cried, dropping to his knees, scrambling forward. The figure looked up, eyes glistening like stormy seas, full of longing and despair but also recognition. As he reached out, the locket between them flared brightly, blinding him momentarily. When he could see again, the figure had vanished into thin air, leaving only a chill in the air and a fading echo of her voice. "No!" David shouted, scrambling to his feet, panic rising like bile in his throat. The walls responded with a haunting thrum, as if mocking his desperation. It was a trap, a twisted game played by memories and shadows. His heart thundered, a booming drum heralding a dawning terror. Just when he thought he had connected with her, she disappeared again. Was he destined to chase phantoms of the past forever? As realization hit him like a blow, the house shuddered around him. The candles flickered wildly, and he felt the temperature drop further, the whispers turning hostile, like an enraged tempest brewing within the walls that he had to get out. But as he turned to escape, a jagged shadow loomed large behind him, coalescing into a shape he recognized far too late. The air snapped, and with the crack of thunder, he felt the grip of dread tighten once more. What darkness had he awakened this time, and was there still a way to reclaim the love he thought lost forever? David spun, heart racing as the shadow loomed larger, the very air around him vibrating with an energy that felt alive. Time stood still, and he could barely breathe. It was as if the house itself was holding him hostage, its breath heavy with anticipation. All he could think about was Rebecca, how close he had come to her and how cruelly the house had yanked her from his grasp. The figure seemed to grow more defined in the dim light, a weathered face twisted in despair. Just before the darkness engulfed him, recognition shot through David like lightning. "Mark," he gasped, voice barely a whisper, tremors rippling through him at the sight of his long-dead friend. David, the voice was strained, raw with the pain of the past. "You shouldn't be here." "Why not? What happened to Rebecca?" His fists clenched, desperation turning to anger. There was no time for pleasantries, he needed answers. Mark's ghastly visage flickered like an old film reel, as if the truth was heavy and hard to share. "She doesn't belong to this world anymore. You must go before it's too late." "Too late for what?" The words rushed out, each syllable heavy with dread. David felt the urge to flee rise within him, but the thought of another hour without answers paralyzed him. "She was here. I heard her." Yet Mark's shadowy figure shook its head. "The house thrives on your pain. It feeds on memories and grief. If you stay, it will consume you, to make you one with the shadows." A wave of cold washed over David, as if the night itself was creeping into his very bones. "Mark, I can't lose her again. I have to help her." "Help her?" Mark's laugh was a cruel echo. "You can't help anyone here. This place has taken its toll. You must leave before it takes your soul too." Suddenly, the walls around them groaned, almost collapsing inward as if the house were retaliating against the warning. The once subdued whispers escalated into furious howls, vibrating the very foundation beneath David's feet. A crack formed in the wall, and bitter darkness seeped through like a gaping wound. "No!" David shouted, the panic surging in his veins. Mark swirled back, lost in the chaos of the shadows. "Mark! Don't go!" But it was too late. The room spun madly, and he was alone once more. The flickering candles cast monstrous silhouettes that danced frantically around him. Each shadow felt like a hand reaching, grasping, escaping. The walls were alive, pulsating with malicious energy, and he felt them closing in. With a sudden burst of courage, David tore toward the entrance he had seen before, but as he moved, the walls shifted, contorting around him, leading him deeper into the labyrinth of despair. "Rebecca!" he cried out, voice echoing, hope waning. "I'll find you." The air was thick with a stench of decay, mingling with the memories he couldn't shake off. Every corner just brought more regret, more pain. He could almost hear the echoes of laughter and joy, warped by the darkness into something grotesque. Just when he thought he couldn't go on, a flash of light caught his eye, a shimmering reflection from the locket still clutched in his trembling hand. It pulsed with warmth, a beacon of hope amidst the suffocating gloom. Could this be the key? Could it lead him back to Rebecca? But before he could answer his own question, he turned and saw something that froze him in his tracks. A shadow detached from the darkness, forming a twisted face, a grotesque likeness of Rebecca with hollow eyes. It smiled with cruel delight, revealing a hunger that sent chills down David's spine. "Will you choose love, David," it mocked, "or will you let fear take you?" His heart raced, battling fear and longing, desperation clawing at his throat. The moment hung in the air, and he was faced with a choice that could cost him everything. What price would he pay for love? As the shadow surged forward, he steeled his breath, readying himself to fight for the one he lost or to run from the darkness threatening to claim him once again. The shadow lunged, a monstrous gaping maw filled with nothing but void, and for a heartbeat, David felt the world blink. He clenched his locket tighter, the warmth a stark contrast to the encroaching chill, and screamed, "Rebecca!" The name echoed through the dark, swallowed by the growing rage of the house. The twisted figure hesitated, and in that moment, it flickered, revealing flashes of the woman David loved, her laughter, her smile. But each glimpse was tainted, clouded by shadows lurking behind her, reminding him of what he was fighting against. "Do you think love can save you?" The creature whispered, its voice dripping with venomous sweetness. "Love was your weakness, David. Look where it led you." "No." It was a primal scream, bursting forth from a place of raw hurt. The memories surged, joy and guilt battling for dominance, but deep down, he knew he would never stop fighting for Rebecca. Not when she was so close. With a surge of resolve, David moved, legs pounding against the floorboards that felt alive beneath him. The shadow advanced, closing the distance. He veered left, darting around remnants of a shattered past, pictures of lives long extinguished, trapped in frames smeared with filth. Each step deeper into the house felt like stepping into the heart of a storm. Then he saw it, a door, faint light shimmering around its edges. Hope ignited in his chest as fierce as any flame. He lunged toward it, but the figure barreled behind him, cold breath washing over his neck like ice. Desperation clawed at his throat, he could feel the darkness trying to siphon his spirit. "Rebecca!" He cried again, voice cracking, echoing into nothingness. That I in his mind, he clung to the image of her, that radiant smile pushing him forward. He reached for the door's handle, fingers trembling. The locket pulsated violently, as if it were alive with a force urging him to act. He twisted the knob just as the shadow lunged, hurling itself at him. The door flew open, blinding light pouring in like a flood. David stepped through, heart pounding, the chill of the house gnashing at his heels like a beast denied its prey. He stumbled into a room that was unrecognizable, yet familiar. Pictures adorned the walls, each frame declaring moments of joy he thought lost forever. He saw them: Rebecca laughing, family gatherings, the warmth of love radiating from every photograph, but looming in the center of this room was a mirror, cracked but reflecting more than just his haunted visage. In its depths, David saw flashes of the past mingling with shadows, whispering fragments of truths he dared not grasp. Suddenly, he felt a hand on his shoulder. Whirling around, he expected darkness, but instead found a figure cloaked in light, a woman. His heart seized, recognizing those familiar features. "Rebecca?" he gasped, hope blooming even amidst fear. "David," she whispered, voice trembling. "You shouldn't have come back." The ground quaked beneath him. With a jolt, he realized, this wasn't just about her. It was about him, too. The house was tightening its grip, eager to snatch them both. "Why did you say that?" he demanded, feeling the weight of desperation merge with unfamiliar depths of anger. "I want to leave you again." Her expression shifted, a mixture of fear and sorrow. "The house feeds on your love, David. It will use it against you to twist us forever." The darkness surged, swirling around them like a storm, and David took a step back. The shadows whispered savagely, grasping at his resolve with hands of despair. Just then, the locket in his grasp began to glow brighter, resonating with an energy he could feel deep within his bones. What power did it possess? If he could just harness it, perhaps he could pull them both free, but the shadows rose violently, desperate to consume the light. "David!" Rebecca shouted over the din, but the echoes were torn by the frenzy. Her face twisted in agony, urging him to act. That he stood at the precipice of a choice: fight to uncover the truth of the house or succumb to the myth of their dark love. With the locket sharing its promise of warmth, he made his choice, but would it be enough to overpower the storm? As he grasped it tighter, the shadows lunged, and David braced for impact, feeling both terror and hope collide as they spiraled into the unknown. Light and darkness clashed in a cacophony of sound. David's heart raced as he swallowed hard, feeling the room warp around him. The shadows hungered, gnashing at the edges of his vision, but within him, the locket pulsed, a warm heartbeat against the cold chaos. "Let go of her!" he shouted, his voice power surging through the dread. Maybe, just maybe, he could turn the tide. His grip tightened, and the locket flared brightly, casting a golden beacon against the encroaching dark. "David!" Rebecca's voice sliced through the noise. Her fear laced every syllable. "You're drawing them," but he was already moving, stepping forward as the shadows writhed and hissed. A swirling mass of black tendrils reached for him, clawing at the edges of his sanity. Ignoring the creeping dread, he focused only on the light that surged from around the locket. In that moment, hope ignited like a beacon in the storm. The mirror reflected disjointed images, twisting forms, moments lost to time, echoes of their past. The laughter faded, replaced by cries of despair. The truth was here, veiled in shadows. "David!" Rebecca cried again, her voice almost drowned by the shadows' savage whispers. "You have to break the mirror." "Break the mirror?" He hesitated, heart pounding against his ribs. But it felt like a lifeline. She was right. That reflection held the key, and he was losing her again. Fueled by determination, he sprinted toward the mirror, using the locket's light to shield himself from the shadowy fiends that lunged, desperately trying to drag him back. He reached the edge, the glass pulsating with dark energy that rippled with his every breath. Without thinking, he raised the locket high. "This is our love," he shouted, channeling everything into his voice. The shadows recoiled, almost hissing in fear. "You can't take it." And then, with a swift motion, he swung the locket against the cracked surface of the mirror. The world shattered, glass flew in all directions, and a blinding light erupted from the locket, enveloping everything around him. For a moment, time suspended, stretching beneath the weight of truth and desperation. He felt Rebecca's presence alongside him, the warmth grounding them as the darkness hissed angrily, retreating from the gleaming light, but then came the realization the mirror was only the surface of their struggle. As the last shards fell away, David was thrown backward, landing hard against the floor. Pain radiated through him, but he blinked through the brightness and gasped. Where was Rebecca? Panic exploded within him, raw and feral. The light faded, and the shadows coiled like snakes, slithering toward him once more. "Rebecca!" he called, struggling to rise. The once familiar room felt foreign, twisted into a nightmare. He scrambled to his feet, heart pounding as he felt them close in. "David!" The sound was faint, drifting from somewhere just beyond his grasp. He was running out of time, the shadows twisted, shape-shifting in the corners of his mind, enticing him, pulling him in. "You're so close. Just give in," they rasped, claws tapping against the floor ominously. But David clenched his fists. No. Not again. He remembered her smile, the spark in her eyes, and the profound love they shared. That was his strength. With a scream, he barreled forward, ready to confront whatever truth lay ahead. The darkness writhed, but he wasn't stopping. He had to reclaim Rebecca, and he knew that facing the truth wasn't a choice anymore. It was everything. With each step, he could feel a surge of energy rise within him, ignited by love, his love, their love. But just as he felt hope wash over him, the shadows hissed louder, and from their depths, an ominous shape emerged, one that evoked a terror lost to time. His breath caught as he locked eyes with the figure. "Do you think you can save her?" It sneered, echoing the haunting question. "You're too late." In that moment, everything came crashing down. The weight of the soul, the laughter they shared, the very essence of hope all teetered on the brink of obliteration. Could he truly save her, or was he destined to lose it all? And as the shadows surged forward, David braced himself for the battle ahead, uncertainty gnawing at him. The final confrontation loomed, but would it be a battle of love or despair? He had to find out before it was too late. David's chest heaved as he faced the nightmarish figure cloaked in darkness. Its twisted smile sent shivers down his spine. The shadows curled around him, whispering taunts, but his heart roared louder. "Get away from her!" he shouted, channeling every ounce of courage he had left. The figure chuckled, a cold, hollow sound. "Brave, but foolish. You think strength alone will save her? She has been claimed, and the darkness will feed on your desperation." As panic clawed at his insides, David felt the locket pull strongly against his chest, igniting memories of Rebecca, a laughter-filled past that now felt impossibly far away. It was a beacon amid the consuming darkness, urging him on. He couldn't let despair drown him. He lunged forward, ignoring the jagged sting of glass that cut through his skin as he pushed himself into the darkness. "You're wrong!" he roared, determination turning into a battle cry. "I want to let you take her." He reached out, trying to grasp the flickering light of the locket through the heavy shadows. The figure shifted, dissolving into a wave of shadow in a mocking display of strength. "You don't understand the darkness you're up against. It knows your fears, your regrets, everything that breaks you." David's vision blurred, thoughts warping as everything he loved began collapsing into painful memories, the regret of missed moments, the guilt of not having done enough, the fear of never seeing Rebecca smile again. He felt lost in an abyss of sorrow, and for a fleeting moment, doubt crept in. What if it was too late? But as despair threatened to wash over him, the locket ignited a flood of warmth beneath David's fingertips. Rebecca's laugh echoed in his mind, fierce and unrelenting. He could almost feel her presence, a gentle hand on his shoulder, reminding him of the love that tethered them. "Now!" he bellowed, brandishing the locket high. "This is our light. Shadows can't extinguish what they'll never understand." He charged forward, propelled by the belief in their love, the radiance bursting forth with every step. The shadows recoiled, a screeching wail erupting from their depths. The ominous figure faltered, its facade cracking, revealing the fear lurking behind bravado. In that moment, the world felt weightless, as if hopelessness had been chiseled away. David seized the fleeting opportunity, lunging deeper into the heart of darkness, reaching for Rebecca's voice. It was like a lifeline cutting through the chaos. "Rebecca! I'm here." The room trembled, the air thick with anticipation. "David!" she called again, her voice a fragile thread weaving through the dark. It hung there, fragile yet unwavering, echoing against the walls of despair. But the shadows were relentless. They surged forward, a palpable force, hungry for the light David had summoned. He pushed onward, mind narrowing to the singular task of finding her, fighting against the crushing weight of despair. "I won't lose you!" he yelled, breaking through the darkness that clawed at him. Just as he thought he saw a flicker of light ahead, the figure lunged again, reaching for him, darker than the emptiness around them. "You're not strong enough!" it hissed, cold breath wafting against him like a winter's chill, heart thudding like a war drum. David knew that time was against him. He could feel Rebecca's presence slipping through his fingers, and an unnatural silence enveloped the room, pressing down on him. Just when he thought all hope was extinguished, the locket flared with a brilliant light, illuminating the path before him. "Together!" he shouted, the command burrowing deep into his soul. "Together we can beat this!" The shadows writhed and recoiled, but the famous embrace of love surged within him. Would it be enough to shatter the darkness? Did he have the strength to confront the truth? As he sprinted forward, the shadows fell back for one final assault, and David braced himself for the truth that waited on the other side of fear. With every breath, he could feel the weight of eternity, his love, his fight, and the unknown that came next. But in that breath, so full of hope, a shattering realization dawned: the darkness may not only stand against him, it might be a part of him after all. What awaited him in the depths of this reckoning? Would he step into the light, or would shadows take him once more? David felt the light of the locket sear through him, igniting a flame of determination that pushed against the suffocating shadows. They writhed and shifted, hissing as they nearly engulfed him, and for a fleeting second, He thought he might lose his footing in the dark reality that held his beloved captive. But as the shadows lunged toward him, their cold grip clawing at his chest, a fierce resolve washed over him. He could hear Rebecca's laughter ringing in his ears, could feel her spirit intertwining with his own. "We are stronger together," he shouted defiantly, and the locket pulsed again, casting a brilliant light that carved through the night. The figure staggered back, its twisted visage faltering as the light encroached upon it. "You think this paltry glow can save you?" it hissed, voice guttural and full of venom. "A flicker against the abyss. You are still lost. You will never find her." But before he could respond, the darkness surged, overwhelming him like a tide. David felt his heart race, panic clawing at him again. Would he be swallowed by despair? Just as he stumbled backward, a new memory flickered in his mind, a time when he protected Rebecca, holding her as she laughed fearlessly beneath the stars. "Stop!" he yelled, his voice echoing against the cold walls. "I won't let you twist my memories. I will face this." With that thought anchoring him, David surged forward. The locket released a beam of light, pushing against the darkness, illuminating the figure more brightly. It was then he noticed something strange, a flicker of vulnerability in the monster's expression. It was scared, too. "What are you?" the figure growled, taking a step back, shadows rippling away from the light. With each word spoken, David felt his own trembling fear melt away. "Something that you will never understand," he declared. "Something far more powerful than you'll ever know." Rebecca's laughter spiraled around him, giving him strength. He could feel her presence, it soothed him, fortified him against the inevitable onslaught. "I can't let you take what's mine," he cried, forcing all his love through the locket's glow. The shadows shrieked, recoiling, twisting into shapes that flickered like dying flames. A surge of warmth filled the space around him, pushing the darkness back. Yet just as victory teased the edges of David's consciousness, the figure lunged in desperation, its hand striking toward him with a dark fury. "You can win," it screamed, the force behind the strike sending tremors through the ground. David barely dodged as he felt the whoosh of darkness brush past him, and his heart raced as he scrambled deeper into the light. "Rebecca!" he shouted again, his voice filled with fervor. "I'll find you. I promise." But then, inexplicably, the light flickered, casting a momentary shadow over David. The locket dimmed, reflecting his own trepidation. Had he truly believed he could defy the darkness? In that moment of doubt, he felt the echoes of his own fears creeping back, amplifying his insecurities. What if he couldn't save her? What if darkness was a part of him after all? Sweat dripped down his brow as he clenched his fists, realizing the shadows would not only test his strength, they would test his heart. Just then, the figure's laughter rang out, a chilling, haunting sound. "You think love can save you? It is your weakness." But then David remembered. Love wasn't a weakness. It was the fire that fueled him. Drawing from that primal force, he stepped forward into the radiant light, knowing that this battle was more than physical. It was a testimony of his will to stand firm. That he screamed one last challenge into the night: "If I fall, I will fall fighting. And you will never have her." And with that, he charged, heart pounding, the shock of truth igniting in his veins, ready to face whatever came next. But as the light flickered again, shadows began to swirl threateningly around him, and a piercing voice whispered through the chaos, "What if you are already too late?" David's heart dropped. Was it true? Would he be able to save Rebecca before the darkness consumed them both? David's pulse thundered in his ears as he stood rooted to the spot, caught in the razor-sharp moment of doubt. The darkness around him twisted like a living entity, mocking his resolve. The laughter faded, replaced by a hollow echo that cut deeper than any blade. Was it true? Too late. The weight of that possibility pressed down on him, anchoring him in a paralyzing fear. "No!" he shouted, desperation clawing at every word. "You won't tell me what is. I'll find her." But the shadows only hissed a chorus of contempt that pierced through the veil of his confidence. With every ounce of strength, David pushed against the creeping shades, the locket glowing brighter as if responding to his agony. The radiant light pulsed, each beat resonating with the memories of laughter and love he had shared with Rebekah, moments now obscured by the oppressive darkness. Shadows writhed closer, their cold tendrils swirling around him, threatening to snuff out his flame. Then, through the din of whispers and ominous laughter, he heard a familiar sound: her laughter. It surged within him like a spring rain, invigorating and warm, pushing back against the relentless shadows. "Rebekah!" he called, mindful of how fragile hope felt in the face of despair. "Where are you?" The figure before him shifted, its shape warping like a reflection in disturbed water. "You are the fool," it hissed, voice dripping with malice. "Chasing echoes will lead you nowhere. She is lost just like you. Your love binds you to this vile darkness, and here you will remain." "No." David countered, gripping the locket as if it were the very lifeblood that sustained him. "I'll break this curse. I refuse to let you twist our bond into a weapon against us." For every word he spoke, the shadows seemed to falter, shrinking back just a fraction. Perhaps there was power still in him, a possibility lurking buried beneath the layers of fear. Memories swarmed his mind: Rebekah's smile, the way she danced under the summer night, carefree and joyous. Could such warmth extinguish even the fiercest darkness? He took a step forward, driven not just by the fear of loss but by the fierce need to fight for what mattered most. The light from the locket glowed radiantly, illuminating the small space he occupied as if revealing a secret world hidden within the abyss. "Rebekah, I'm coming," he called again. The shadows hissed, dark spittle of rage bursting from them. Then he felt it: a flicker in the ground beneath his feet, a pulse resonating deeper than the rising turmoil around him. What? Before he could comprehend the shift, a surge erupted, renting the fabric of shadow apart. The darkness roared as if alive, shrieking in protest to an unseen force that erupted among the chaos. He realized this was a chance. "This ends now," he shouted, thrusting the locket forward, channeling every ounce of love and sheer will into the light. It flared brilliantly, sending a shockwave that forced the darkness back. The figures that had once loomed over him shrieked, clawing at the luminous barrier he had built, but as the luminescence reached the edges of shadow, it faltered again, dipping just as quickly as it had surged forward. David felt dread crawl up his spine, a sudden, icy realization. Is there a price to pay?" he asked aloud, words trembling as they left his lips. "Is my love not enough?" In that crucial instant, time held its breath. The shadows swirled menacingly, and the figure loomed closer, whispering truth wrapped in gloom. "You will pay for the price of love, and you are running out of time." And with those words hanging heavy in the air, David's heart raced, adrenaline pumping hot through his veins. Could he muster the strength? Was love powerful enough to shatter the chains binding Rebekah? As his eyes darted about in the encroaching gloom, the whispered shadows surged, and a single question struck him like a lightning bolt: how much was he willing to sacrifice? In that moment of uncertainty, something began to crack within the depths of the darkness, a chance to turn the tide. But would it be enough before the last grain of hope slipped away? He steeled his resolve, ready to plunge deeper into the chaos. A final stand awaited, and time was no longer a luxury he possessed. The room trembled, shadows lashing out with renewed fury as David stood his ground, heart racing with urgency. The air was alive with static, crackling like a voltage line ready to burst. Each second felt like a lifetime as doubt clawed at him, but he remembered the laughter, the warmth of Rebekah's love. He would not let it slip through his fingers again. "Rebekah!" he shouted, his voice cutting through the pandemonium. The shadows hesitated, a flicker of distress rippling through them. He had seen their fears. He had seen their weakness. The figure snarled, inching closer, its twisted grin stretching unnaturally. "You think love can save you? It is your downfall." "No," David countered fiercely. "You underestimate its power. You don't understand what love can do." As he spoke, the locket in his hand glowed with a fierce energy, each pulse syncing with his steadily beating heart. David raised it high, channeling all his memories and emotions, everything that made him human, everything that connected him to Rebecca. Images swirled around him, her laughter echoing through the trees, her eyes sparkling in the sunlight, every moment that was stolen from them gleaming like stars above. "I won't lose you," he declared, and the light of the locket erupted, illuminating the shadows, pushing them back. The shadows screeched, recoiling from the brilliant light that cascaded around him like a protective shield. It was a battle of wills, and for the first time, the darkness trembled before his resolve. "I will find her," he shouted again. "This ends now." The air vibrated with his conviction. The figure faltered as the light grew brighter, whirling around David, severing its grip on reality. He stepped forward, feeling power surging through him like an unstoppable tide. He had faced enough fear. No longer would he back down. With one last charge, David faced the darkness. "You will not take her again. You can't twist what you don't understand." He swung the locket outward, the light bursting forth like a supernova, engulfing the horrifying figure. In that instant, the house shuddered, the walls vibrating with the force of eternal love. Shadows screamed, their forms disintegrating into wisps of despair, dissipating into the light, fading like night before dawn. With one defining blow, David felt the air still around him, the oppressive weight lifting. The room transformed, colors flooding back in fragments of his life, with Rebecca glittering like shards of glass in sunlight. He had done it. He had broken the darkness, and there she stood, a figure materializing from the remnants of gloom, beckoning him like the sun breaking through the clouds. David, her voice was a melody, woven with hope. "Rebecca." David rushed towards her, arms outstretched. The warmth enveloped him as he crossed the threshold of light, feeling their souls collide. Her presence was electric, a balm to the wounds that had held him prisoner for so long. The shadows skittered away, fading to wisps of smoke, powerless before the unity of their love. "I thought I lost you," he murmured, tears blurring his vision. "You never lost me, David," she whispered. "You fought for us." Emotions flooded through him, relief, joy, endless gratitude. They stood entwined in the golden light, heartbeats synchronized, and for the first time in what felt like forever, David felt whole. As the room continued to shimmer around them, David glanced around at the remnants of despair that had once bound him. The portraits, the unsettling whispers were gone, replaced by a gentle tranquility. The house, once a vessel of darkness, had transformed into a sanctuary. Together, they walked forward, hand in hand, ready to face the world together. There would be challenges ahead, but as long as they leaned on each other, there was nothing they couldn't overcome. The thirst for despair lifted, the past would no longer cage them. "You ready?" David asked quietly. "With you?" "Always," Rebecca replied, her smile radiant. They stepped through the threshold of light, leaving behind the shadows, ready to forge a new path, built on love's unbreakable bond. And as they emerged, the sun broke through the horizon, signaling a new beginning. Now was their moment, not just to reclaim their lives but to embrace the future together. But before you move on, you need to subscribe to the channel immediately. Don't miss the next exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. And I want to hear from you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. What did you think? What's next for David and Rebecca? If you love stories like this, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means the world and helps keep these stories alive. Let us keep this community growing.